Every trader watching this has blown accounts that they know they shouldn't have blown, not because of strategy, but because of the loops that seem like they are impossible to break. For example, let's say you do perfectly fine on an evaluation, you pass it almost all of the time, and then once you make it to a live account, you trade like a different person and end up blowing before a payout. Another example, let's say you have a rule and you have plans, but the second you're in the market, it seems like you turn into a new person and forget everything, and then you say, I'm going to follow this tomorrow or the next day, and you keep making the same mistakes over and over again. You don't have a strategy problem, you have an identity problem. You're operating with a broken internal nervous system, which is why nothing feels like it sticks, and it feels like you keep repeating the same psychological loop over and over with no signs of consistency. This is caused by a few things. Number one, your nervous system is dysregulated, meaning that you cannot regulate your own nervous system, so your identity collapses after any trigger. For example, you take a loss, you start overtrading and revenge trading. Or you get on a live account and the money is real now, it actually matters, and you blow up because of the pressure on you. Or let's say, in your regular life, you have a lot of things going on. There's circumstances that make it hard for you to trade proficiently. You let it get to you while you're trading, meaning you're combining your personal life with your trading life, and that leads into you blowing accounts. And there are many, many, many more triggers and things that lead up into identity collapses and dysregulated nervous systems. First, I'm going to break down two of the main loops I see within the trading community. Number one is having no framework or structure to follow, leading into randomness. So what that means is you do not have a non-negotiable, strict framework that you follow every single day leading into the market, which leads into random trades, overtrading, no defined risk amount, no defined trade amount, and this causes you to have no consistency, never be able to track anything that's going on, meaning you have no data to improve upon, and you simply just don't have an actual structure that you know works, so it messes with your mind and you begin to doubt yourself. You get self-doubt because you have no consistency and you have no structure, leading into you not knowing if what you're doing even works or if it ever will work. Number two, taking a loss. Most traders cannot take a loss, even though everyone knows that in trading, it is impossible to have a 100% win rate. Even with knowing that, traders cannot take a loss the way you should. The market is probability based, right? What does that mean? That means everything in the market is based off of probabilities. Probabilities means that you are not always going to be right, and you don't have to be right to actually win in the market. And just with this belief, you completely get rid of the fear of losing. Most of you are not afraid of losing money. You are afraid of taking a loss. The loss hits your identity directly and you take it as an attack rather than data. And this leads into you never fixing the problem and always continuing the same cycle, same loop of taking a loss, overtrading, revenge trading, blowing up the account, feeling shameful about blowing up the account, and repeating the cycle. I fixed this when I stopped trying to trade better and rebuilt my entire operating system behind the way I trade. The way it goes is identity, structure, narrative, timing, one singular A+ entry criteria, and then a psychological reset before, during, and after trading. And this is called zero alignment, and it is the one and only thing after 8,000 hours of trading that actually fixed all of these loops that you guys are going through. Now I'm going to break down how each part of this system actually solves all of these loops and cycles. Let's start with identity. Identity. That's going to be number one, because if you are not the operator, the person who can actually trade proficiently, it does not matter how good your strategy is, how good at technicals you are, or any of the rest of the steps in this layer. So, identity. How are you going to fix that, and what does it solve? What it solves is how you actually trade and think about the markets, obviously. So you right now, you think in terms of P&L more than likely, and you think in terms of winning and losing, and it's basically the way you feel about yourself, about the markets, and about pretty much everything. So The issue is you are not the person who can actually profit in the markets. And this is simply about rewiring the deeper layer behind how you act, how you think, and this is done through various techniques that actually completely permanently change the way you think about everything that matters. So next we'll go into structure. If you do not have a structure in place while trading, you are trading randomness, you collect no data to improve on and to improvise, and you basically cannot be, it's impossible to be consistent because you are trading something different every single day. How do you expect to actually make progress or even understand why you're winning or losing if you trade something differently every single day? So what does structure solve? Structure solves overtrading, risking too much, taking random trades, not following your actual strategy. It solves pretty much all of the issues that 99% of you are losing because of. How do you implement structure? Well, once you have your identity under control, then structure implementation is actually easy because you are going to become the person who can follow a structure. So at that point, it's simply knowing exactly what structure you need specifically for you, putting it in place, and then setting up rules and boundaries to make sure that it is followed. Now for narrative. Narrative is a very important one as well, just like all of the other ones. For narrative, what does this solve? This solves being off sides. This solves not knowing what the market is going to do. It solves not understanding what is happening on the higher time frame. And what this really solves, once you understand all of these things, is knowing what the market is doing. So now you're not just trading out of luck and intuition and vibes and hope. You're trading out of actual skill. You're trading out of knowledge. You're trading out of knowing why the market does what it does, rather than having one singular stupid technical analysis criteria to enter off of. You actually know what direction the market is going into based on good reasoning. So how do you actually develop a narrative? Narrative is based on a lot of things. It's based on macroeconomics. It's based on everything that's going on within all markets. It's based on a higher time frame structure, top-down analysis. It's based on specific levels that are very important in the market. It's based on the economy, FOMC rates, FOMC meeting, what Jerome Powell thinks about. There is a lot of things that go into narrative, and most traders neglect this completely, skip over this step entirely, and move right into technical analysis, which is quite literally the bottom of the barrel. It is the singular last layer that I put any focus onto, and all it does for me is give me my risk to reward and maybe help my win rate just the slightest. Now for timing, I can't actually go too deep on this one because this is something I don't teach publicly, but what I can say about timing, what it does for you at least, it will remove all randomness from trading as well. I mean, when you need a specific time period that you're going to trade between, otherwise you are going to get on the charts in Asia session, blow your accounts, and wake up the next morning not understanding what just happened. And you're going to always be looking at the charts. You're going to be distracted at all times, and you need specific timing that you are going to enter in. For example, what I can tell you, macro kill zones at least. So for me specifically, I only trade between 9:30 and 11:30 a.m. That's it. I don't trade PM, I don't trade Asia, I don't trade London. I trade 9:30 to 11:30. That's it. Most of you guys want to make this a 9-to-5 job where you're looking at the charts for 10 hours a day. Why would you want to do that when you can trade one session, one time period, make as much money as you want, and be done with the day? But as for timing, kill zones. So 9:45 really to about 10:10. Every first and last 10 minutes of the hour. Especially the 4-hour ones are very important because, like I said, top-down analysis. What I can say, I'm not going to explain it though, is fractal price action, top-down analysis, quarterly theory, open, high, low, close. Once you piece all of those together, you get a pretty good understanding of how to actually use timing correctly. Now, A+ setup. This is extremely important, even though all of these layers are equally as important. This is one that you really cannot go without. If you are jumping from strategy to strategy, you don't know what you're entering off specifically, and you're just trading discretionary intuition, hope, vibe style, you're not going to be profitable consistently for long term. If you look at any great trader, any profitable trader for long periods of time, they do not trade that way. It is impossible. Why do you think hedge funds, why do you think quant traders don't trade like that? Because they actually understand that it's impossible to consistently profit in the market over long periods of time, trading completely discretionary hope style. Just think about it from a logic perspective. The market is designed to rob you of your money. They're not going to let your hope, intuition beat the market. You need an edge, a real edge, and you need to have one edge. And if it stops working, you adapt. It's simple as that. So you'll have strict non-negotiable entry criteria, and that's it. So you'll have, let's say, whatever standard deviation, accumulation, AMD, liquidity sweep, fair value gap, inverse, change in state of delivery, whatever you want to do, really. But really, most of it works. You just need to put one together that really works. And I teach the best one in the world. So whatever, A+ entry criteria, extremely important. And lastly is going to be your psychological reset. So what this means is, or what this does for you is, it stops all signs of actually blowing up after you lose, blowing up after you win, coming into the market with the wrong identity and wrong, thinking not clearly and thinking about money and the outcome and being focused on the wrong things with the wrong intentions. It completely rids of that. So what this means is you're going to have a pre-trading protocol. It's going to be something you cannot trade without. You follow this no matter what. If you miss your pre-trading protocol, you do not trade. Simple as that. Next, you will have a post-loss protocol. Okay, so every time you lose, you will follow the exact same thing. I'm not going to go over mine. It'll take too long for all of this, but post-loss protocol, post-win protocol, sorry, I have the hiccups, post-win protocol, and some people like to have a post-trade protocol where they do something specifically after they enter the trade. I never dealt with that issue, so I do not, but some people that helps a lot as well. And that is what zero alignment really is. It's a layered, structured system. No woo-woo bullshit psychology advice, no fucking fluff and shit. This is what actually makes you a profitable trader when you have all of these down. Everyone talks about A+ entry criteria strategy. That's all I bet you've ever heard talked about online, am I right? Why is that? Because nobody knows what the hell they're doing. They just think having some technical analysis and some charts on a line is going to make you profitable. In reality, that's why 99% of you fail, because you only focus on the last layer of my system. And that is why gurus make money, because they give you, okay, tell me this. If I told you you have to follow 5 layers very strictly, it's a lot of work, you're not going to want to buy from me, obviously. What the hell? It's going to take all of this work to actually make money trading? What the hell is this? When I can go to the guy across the street and he's going to teach me this simple strategy, drawing some lines on the chart, and it's going to make me profitable. Why would I go to this guy who's telling me I have to do all this bullshit just to make money? Of course you're going to go to the guy who tells you you can just trade a strategy and be profitable. And that's why you're failing, because you took the easy route. You weren't willing to put in the work. You weren't willing to do what it takes. And trading is not a walk in the park like most people paint it to be. And now I'm going to tell you why nothing else except for this works. This is the only solution. You want to go back test, right? All that does is reinforce your shit strategy. It doesn't help with psychology. It's not real time. You want a paper trade? Not real time. That doesn't help your psychology. You want a journal? Doesn't matter. You're thinking from the wrong place. Your identity is not on track. Journaling is not going to do shit. You want to, let's say, I don't know, what else can you even do other than that? It's all the surface level knowledge there is. So it's like, really, if you don't have this system, you are begging to fail. Let me think, really, though. What else can you do? Let's say follow one strategy. Well, your identity and your structure and your narrative are still shit. So how do you expect to win? Let's say, whatever, you get the point. There really is nothing else you can do. I've spent my whole life dedicated towards this system that I built, and I can tell you from 4 years of trading, 8,000 hours on the charts, that everything else is bullshit. I journaled for years. I back tested over 1,000 hours. I've live traded at 8,000 hours, literally, and whatever. I've done all of it. Nothing except what I just told you is what works. Oh, and 3 more I forgot to mention. Discipline. You guys like to talk about discipline. Discipline breaks under pressure. As soon as there's pressure on the line, your discipline's out the window. Taking a break from trading, it's a temporary band-aid. The second you're back, it comes right back a few days later. And then more strategies is just more noise, and that is going to make your situation worse. When you begin trading from structure and identity in this system that I just gave you, trading becomes boring, consistent, easy. You don't have to think much, effortless. Nothing is trading right now. It's probably the most stressful thing in your life. You feel like it's so hard to do, and you're always just trying to get better, trying to learn more, trying to do all of these things that are only putting you further back. Meanwhile, you use this structure and everything becomes effortless. And this was the system that saved my life, saved my trading career, and basically completely changed the trajectory that I was heading in. So if you're stuck in a similar loop or same loop that I was for 3 or 2.5 years, then DM me on Instagram, 𝗂𝘂𝗂𝘃𝗂𝗃, and I will send you the reset that I used to actually set up all of these 5 layers.